Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through today's topic, which is all about navigating San Francisco's business licensing process. Setting up shop in a major city can honestly feel like tackling a giant bureaucratic maze, right? But it really doesn't have to be. Today, we're going to break down the regulations, demystify the paperwork, and get you on the fast track to officially launching your dream business in the city by the bay.
Now, if you're worried about the initial costs of getting fully compliant, get a load of this. Having the proper license is actually the gateway to some massive municipal benefits. Through San Francisco's first-year free program, over 8,000 newly registered commercial enterprises have already waived more than $4.5 million in initial registration fees, license fees, and first-year permits. I mean, getting properly licensed isn't just about avoiding penalties. It is literally the foundation for operating successfully and taking advantage of city programs designed to help you thrive right out of the gate.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering 1. Starting your SF business, 2. Registering your business name, 3. The BRC application, 4. Zoning and permits, 5. Fees and taxes, and finally, 6. Compliance and legalities.
Let's jump right into Section 1, starting your SF business, and the basics of the BRC.
So the foundation of your partnership with the city is the Business Registration Certificate, or BRC. Think of it this way: whether you're launching a giant tech firm, setting up a solo operation from your living room, or even starting a tax-exempt nonprofit, this certificate is the essential baseline for everyone. If you maintain a fixed place of business, perform work for literally any 7 days in a year, or solicit business within the city limits, you are legally required to have the certificate prominently displayed at your premises. Moving right along to Section 2, registering your business name, specifically focusing on fictitious business names.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly when you need to file for a fictitious business name, or FBN. Say Jace and his brother Tanner start a general partnership called Jace Henderson and Brothers Construction. Well, they're legally required to file an FBN because that name actually leaves out one partner's identity. But if they name it Jason Tanner Henderson Construction, an FBN is not required because both owners' last names are fully listed there. Essentially, if you operate under a name that differs from your official registered name, or if it leaves out an owner, you're going to need an FBN.
If you find that you do need an FBN, here is the exact step-by-step timeline you'll follow with the San Francisco County Clerk. First up, verify name availability. Actually, a quick pro tip to expedite things: do this online through the FBN Index and state trademark databases before you go anywhere. Second, secure your municipal tax registration. Third, file the statement in duplicate. The fee is $57 for the first name, and make sure you bring a valid photo ID if you go in person. Finally, within 30 days of filing, it's a strict legal requirement to publish your statement in a court-approved newspaper of general circulation once a week for 4 weeks, and then you file the proof of publication.
All right, Section 3, the Business Registration Certificate, navigating the application.
To demystify this online form and make your application process as fast as possible, you really want to gather everything on this checklist before you even log in. You'll need your federal tax ID or social security number, your exact organization type, and a valid physical address, and no P.O. boxes will not work here. Notice the exact start date requirement there. The portal actually administratively bars you from using future start dates, meaning you only apply once operations have officially commenced. You'll also need your estimated payroll, gross receipts, and average weekly employee count ready to go.
Now, once you actually start doing business, the clock is ticking. You absolutely must file your BRC application within 30 days of commencing business operations in San Francisco. This is absolutely crucial to remember, folks. If you miss this 30-day window, you expose your brand new enterprise to early penalties, retroactive interest, and just a lot of unnecessary friction on your entrepreneurship journey.
Section 4, navigating zoning and permits, the nuance of industry. Just look at how wildly the requirements can swing depending entirely on your sector. If you're opening a restaurant, you're dealing with the Department of Public Health for food permits, the state for alcohol licenses, and Public Works for sidewalk seating. But if you open a childcare facility instead, the focus shifts heavily to zoning compliance under drop-off guidelines, mandatory fire safety clearances, and strict background checks. Basically, what you do dictates exactly who you answer to locally.
And you know, sometimes just a tiny tweak in your business model dramatically changes your regulatory requirements. Let's imagine you run a home bakery. If you only sell your baked goods directly to consumers at a local market, you're considered a cottage food Class A operation. That's a $150 fee with no kitchen inspection. Pretty straightforward. But
The second you decide to sell those exact same cookies to a local cafe to resell, boom, you become a Class B operation. Your fee suddenly jumps to $658, and a Department of Public Health inspection of your home kitchen becomes a strict requirement.
Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds, understanding fees and taxes, and navigating the toll.
Your annual business registration renewal fees scale logically, based entirely on the success and size of your business, which is calculated off your San Francisco gross receipts. Let's look at the 2026 to 2027 period. If you make under $100,000, your base fee is just $55. If you gross between $1 million and $1.5 million, the fee is $625. And if you scale way up to between $2.5 and $5 million, that fee becomes $1,885. Also, notice that every single tier includes a mandatory $4 state fee right on top of the municipal charge.
The tax environment in San Francisco is very dynamic, and it's shaped directly by the voters. For example, let's look at the 2026 election. Proposition C was a measure that proposed raising the small business tax exemption threshold up to $7.5 million. Supporters argued this was absolutely vital for local shops and restaurants running on incredibly slim margins. On the flip side, opponents argued that it arbitrarily raised the zero tax threshold while continuing to levy higher rates on larger businesses, which they felt actually disincentivized growth.
On that exact same ballot was a competing measure, Proposition D, which focused on the top executive pay tax. This one compared a CEO's pay to all employees rather than just local ones, and the arguments here were just as divided. Supporters argued that Prop D could generate over $300 million to restore critical public funding by taxing large corporations. Opponents, however, argued that the measure risked driving those large businesses out of the city entirely, right when tax revenues were desperately needed for economic recovery. Both of these measures really just reflect the active, ongoing debate over exactly how businesses fund the city.
So the crucial point is how these laws affect your bottom line right now. Following the adoption of a prior restructuring measure known as Proposition M, for the 2025 tax year, the small business enterprise exemption threshold for the gross receipts tax is currently set at $5 million. If your combined San Francisco gross receipts are under that $5 million mark, you generally hit the exemption threshold, which is obviously fantastic news for new small businesses.
Finally, Section 6, Compliance, Renewals, and Legalities, Staying on Track. Staying compliant really just means mastering the calendar. So, mark these dates down. If you need an extension to file your annual taxes, the approved deadline aligns with the state on November 30th. Moving forward from that, the general registration renewal deadline falls on the last day of February. Now, for the 2025 tax year filing and the 2026 to 2027 renewal cycle, everything is actually combined into one unified annual business registration and tax form. That form and all the associated payments are due no later than March 2, 2026. Seriously, put these dates in your calendar so your business remains in perfect standing. We've covered a massive amount of ground today, but I do want to leave you with this very important reminder. Laws and regulations may change. Always consult official local government sources or legal counsel for the most current and personalized guidance. As we just saw with those recent ballot propositions, the landscape of business regulation is constantly evolving. So, how will you ensure your business stays adaptable and compliant in a city that never stops changing? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and best of luck on your San Francisco business journey.